If we lived in a world where we just equalized everything, there would be no motion.
It's neither purely negative nor purely positive.
So the greater you continue to push in your positive, you have to equalize negativity that comes with it and establish that neutrality again. Through the might of our thoughts and our choices, we took something that was strictly an idea and materialized it into something. You can build things out of nothing, and that's what we've done. When is the right time to do or say something, or to think something, or to take action? That's wisdom. Hello everybody, welcome back to Higher Density Living. You are here with Jason Rigby and Alexander McCaig. We've been doing this for years now.
Years and
We're
years.
deep in the weeds.
Dude, we have, I think on Tardo alone, we have 1,000 videos.
Yeah.
Done it, and then here we've had to done more than 1,000.
Talk. All you guys do is talk. Yes.
Talk to me like lovers do.
Oh, that's a good song.
I know, yeah.
A really good
Was
song.
it Roxanne or something like that? No, I don't know who it was.
I
don't
know.
remember. That's my time frame too. I should know.
So I know you wanted to have a discussion on neutral, positive, equalized thinking. This is a topic that is shared in the Creation Energy teaching by Billy Albert Meier and FIGU, which is the nonprofit out of Switzerland, which stands for the Free Community of Interests Universal. So what was really the emphasis for this? What are your thoughts on this? Is this a balance idea again?
No, I think this is more of an understanding because people have such a hard time in understanding this. And this confused me in the beginning. It's neither purely negative nor purely positive, but he talks about it as being equalized.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, well, is this kind of this fucking Buddhist thing, where you don't have a reaction to anything? You're not.
No.
But like, what is... When he says I looked up the definitions and read all this stuff, but in your interpretation, when he says neutral, positive, equalized, in detail, what do you think he's saying?
Everything has an opposite.
Correct.
Easy. Simple stuff. Now, if we lived in a world where we just equalized everything, there would be no motion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? In an equalized world, there's complete neutrality. If something is completely neutral in that instance, how do you create action in any direction if it's always in a state of equilibrium? You don't.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
The point here is that when you have neutral positive, that means you maintain neutrality, but push in a direction of positivity or positive nature decision making while still equalizing the negativity that comes to you. Because the moment you step out of equilibrium, you start to create a positive sign. Just think about it in physics. A negative has to come and support that to equalize it out. So the greater you continue to push in your positive, you have to equalize negativity that comes with it and establish that neutrality again. Once established, push for more positivity. So this typically happens a lot with people. I'm doing good. I'm doing great. And I've learned this lesson. Awesome. Go me. Tons of crystals in my house, right? Fucking killing it. And then bang, this crazy negativity shows up and they're like, man, I was doing so good. And then something so negative showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the nature. Because when you push for something positive, something equal and opposite has to exist. It always tries to drive itself back to a state of equilibrium. But as us, as conscious human beings, we have to make choices. Mm-hmm. It's a function of our life. There's a motion that occurs, a motion of thought, a motion of body through our locomotive process. We need to be positive, equalize what comes in, find a state of neutrality with it. So you have to take in that bad stuff that comes with it when you're doing positive things, find your neutrality, stabilize, do more positive, and repeat that process in cycles. That is the concept of neutral positive equalization.
So, obviously this was channeled to him. He says that. Whenever you think of this higher, because I'm trying to lay a framework of this. So think of the beings that communicated with him, and he's mentioned different beings. But think about that in a world far, far away, galaxy far, far away, blah, blah, blah. What would that world look like? Because obviously they're practicing this.
They have to.
Because that's the only way he would have got it. So what does that look like? A collective group of, we call them aliens.
I do get this question a lot.
Do you?
Yeah, they're like, what's it look like? Well, I'm like...
No, what is this thought process look like with people? I don't care about like what the world looks like.
No, I understand.
what this process being implemented daily looks like in a group of people.
You would tell me something. It would only be truthful, no matter how painful that thing would be. And then once you've said it to me, this information, I'm going to pause for a moment.
Right.
I'm going to ground myself with the information, tie it back to what I know, equalize it internally, and respond with truth back. That process repeats itself like a boomerang. Throw it out, comes right back. Throw it out, come right back. And that happens in interaction between these groups.
But don't you think that having the might of that thought, that force that's there, he talks about that too, would dramatically change? There wouldn't be as much of a negative polarity, because if everybody's thinking that way and everybody's being truthful, then death, you would become so self-aware that death would be a positive thing, not a negative thing.
And that's exactly how it's treated. At that point, death is treated as a gift, a transition to further learning. It is not treated as a negative, or it's not treated as something bad. This is going to be a little difficult to like wrap your head around, but for people that are listening, I had stated before that evil is a learned trait. Just because something is negatively charged doesn't mean it's bad. Okay? So the further they progress, there's a greater state of unknowing or oppositeness that also has to be known. They bring that in. It's not like saying, oh, we're doing so much positive, bad stuff's going to happen to us. No, they know so much and they're doing so much towards that positive nature. The scope of their action for when they actually go to make a single joint decision is for something absolutely massive. Nobody would make the decision to communicate with him, pick him up in a craft, have him write books, institute these things, act as Overwatch on planet Earth.
Right.
People wouldn't do things like that without great, great thought. And so now when the collective goes to make these choices in these environments, they're doing it with a much bigger timescale, because the energy that goes into it is going to there's a big equalization that has to occur, and choosing to interject in that. So for these groups, that's how those cycles work. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, no, 100% I'm seeing it. One of the things that he talks about is that this thinking process can repair the psyche.
Yeah. So Mataka Dankin, which means might of the thoughts, when you have recurring negative thoughts, it actually creates these grooves inside your brain. There's like a gravity well of negativity. And to unwind these things, these grooves of negativity, you're going to have to equalize the negativity with greater positivity.
Right, right.
And then you have to build out of that because you've built in these grooves. Now, the psyche is the development, this idea of this encompassing personality and ego and thoughts all built into one. Now, that can be tuned and driven into a direction that will protest heavily against you trying to fix it. You'll have those negative thoughts that try to creep back in, and they'll always try to do it.
Well, I think science says we have 40,000 thoughts, and 30,000 of them are negative a day, and 10,000 are positive.
So you can
the average human.
So you can see the work for an average human to unwind the grooves, because positive thoughts have power, but just as much as negative thoughts do. So that negativity has the power to create those grooves, do the construction within your psyche.
But our evolution loves negative thoughts because it protects us from the scarcity and from the survival.
It's the fear.
We pay attention when somebody says something negative.
But it's easy. And because when you're just focusing on the negative, you don't have to deal with the positive or the equalization. I just can live in the negative. Mm-hmm. The other 2/3 of your equation is missing. Mm-hmm. It's much easier to focus on 33% than 66%. Right?
Yeah.
That's a smaller portion. I can live my life like that. It requires less effort. Mm-hmm. This process works on a different time scale. And it requires you to take very dedicated steps of thought to rebuild a healthy psyche for the self, to rebuild the consciousness in a format where it becomes unweakened, unshackled by the negativity and the grooves that are built into it. You see that?
Yeah, no, I get that, because having these positive thoughts is going to lead to a self-awareness, or this is a better word, a self-realization of who the self is.
And that's what you begin to see. And then once you find that realization, you can then build out of those deep grooves through the might of your thoughts that you've built up in negativity into a more positive facing one.
Yeah, and he talks about having, like the ability to take your future and create your own wishes and ideas.
Yeah, so here's what happens. I have an idea, a vision. I had one for HDL with you. I had one for Tartle with you. What has come of that? We turned it into something.
Oh, yeah.
Through the might of our thoughts and our choices, we took something that was strictly an idea and materialized it into something. There's proof around you all day long, but that's the power of the thought. But when that power of thought is supported by persistence and will, the strength of the energy of creation behind it that you have inside of you, you can build things out of nothing. And that's what we've done, right? And that creates that process of creation, but you need to continue to use that might of your thinking, but use it in the best evolutive nature for yourself.
Yeah, and one of the things that is so interesting to me is when he does talk about self-responsibility, and I think this is going right along with what you're saying. He has a quote, and I love it. It's, the human being is the forger of his or own fortune.
Yeah.
And we talked about the forging before. We did a whole episode on that. But the self-responsibility to shape your own destiny and to shape it only through thoughts.
A lot of people have lottery-based mindsets, which means I'm just going to wait for luck to hit me. I'm going to go get my scratch ticket. It'll change my life. I'm going to wait for the universe to do something for me. The universe doesn't owe you anything. It gave you existence. It's the greatest gift it could have ever given you. You need to take the responsibility for the outcomes of your life. And in order to do that, you have to be responsible for your thoughts. If you're not responsible for the thoughts, you can't make a choice which is responsible. And you can't have an equal and opposite reaction to making those choices so that the responsibility actually pays into your benefit. Do you see that?
Yes.
How do you expect to receive responsible gain in evolution if you're not being responsible in the decision making? I can't go out and fucking do fentanyl or shoot up or like blow coke all day and assume that in my irresponsibility, something responsible and beneficial will happen in my life. Money will fall in my lap. I will become wise over time. It doesn't occur like that. Yeah. One thing has to beget the other. So it's a necessity that if you want to beget those things that require responsibility to beget them, you must be responsible. Do you see that?
Yeah, 100%. And instead of alleviating it or like, if I give to the church, then I'll get tenfold.
Doesn't work. But it's a great way for the church to say, hey.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy thing to fall into that 33%.
So I you know, the way my brain works, I pulled out of his teachings on this, and this is probably blasphemy to him. I pulled 10 key suggestions. I pulled practical steps that we could do every single day based off of these teachings for this thought process.
So suggestions are fair because they're not saying these are
do
things.
This, right?
It's not saying
they're not
rules.
This. So number one, I believe this would be number one out of the 10. We're going to go through these 10. Meier emphasized that true peace and harmony can only be achieved through the development of consciousness, wisdom, and love. Yeah.
Well, how else are you going to find it? When it comes to consciousness and the fact that you are aware and awake of your existence and relationship to others in the flora and fauna and planet around you.
But a lot of people, you'll have these consciousness talks or these professors that are into consciousness, and the wisdom and love is not there. What I love, he uses the word development of consciousness. The more wise we are, the more love we have, the more our consciousness is developed, according to his teaching.
Well, here's the interesting
part. So that's the key.
Wisdom begets more love.
Of course, yeah.
You can't be unloving and assume you're going to be wise.
The more love, the more wisdom you're going to have. Yeah.
Those two things are self-feeding. The accumulation of knowledge does not mean, just because you're conscious, does not mean you're wise. Wise is the development of bringing in knowledge, using that knowledge, testing it, seeing the feedback from it, and then knowing when to apply it again in the future.
Right.
That's wisdom. That's how you become wise. When is the right time to do or say something, or to think something, or to take action? That's wisdom.
Yeah, knowing that right time. Yes, yeah.
That's exactly, really what it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. Number two is, and I've stared at a candle. I've looked at holding the image of the sun in mind. He's talked about that.
That's a specific meditation.
Yeah, but it's the practice of focus meditation. That's what I'm calling it, the suggestion. It's a practical approach to engage in some form of meditation techniques. Some may be better than others. I also think people evolve in their meditation, because I've gotten to a point where I can do it pretty much almost every day, but I have different forms of meditation depending on where I feel like I need to go for the day. So like staring at a candle may be one, me visiting my higher self may be another one. I have all different forms of going into a dark room, and then being open to what is speaking to me. Those different things, whether they're negative or positive, I can kind of rule them out now. I was like, no, that's negative entity, like go away. In the power of Jesus Christ, I rebuke you, demon. I do that. There's all different kinds.
No,
you know what I mean?
Meditation helps. And you said focus meditation?
Well, I think
What did I'll just
it has to be focused.
I'll clarify it. It's concentration.
Yeah.
Focus is being able to see something clearly. Mm-hmm. Concentrating means I have one thing that I'm doing just right here. It doesn't have to be in perfect focus, but I am concentrating on it.
But you could stare at a tree and meditate.
Absolutely.
Mother Teresa said you can be in a meditative state pulling the dirt out of your fingernail.
Yeah, of course.
If you're solely
concentrated on that, because
gardening is very meditative for me.
It's a self-control mechanism.
I can be like only in that zone, and I feel like I'm communing with Mother Nature in a way that is beautiful, and it gives me so many emotions and feelings and love, and I just feel right whenever I'm in the zone gardening,
But it's a self-control mechanism.
So that's a meditation.
Yeah, meditate.
What I'm trying to get at is there's so many different ways.
No,
people need to like not get hung up and
there's many ways.
You got to go to a Buddhist temple.
No, there's many ways to meditate. The idea here is that you develop a concentration ability powered with your will that allows you to control your thoughts, your actions, feelings, all of those things. Because once you're doing that, now you're properly using the vessel of a human being. And now you're living to a proper potential. You're starting to equalize these things inside of you. You're starting to recognize that might of the thoughts, the Makta Gedanken that you talked about. You're starting to feel those things internally inside of you. And now your life, where it heads, will develop in a more fruitful format. You will bear much greater fruits from your decisioning once you begin that process. And developing a state of focus will do you a lot of good through that.
Well, I mean, for me, if I don't do it, then I'm not giving my best self to others.
No.
So if I can just, even if it's 5-10 minutes, if I can just have that time where can focus.
The meditation's key. You can't, if you don't take the time to concentrate on who you are, how are you ever supposed to know anybody else?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
How can you give someone the due time to concentrate on them to know who they are if you really don't understand that skill internally for you? And that's why that would be like one of those second suggestions that you're bringing up.
Yeah, third one, I really like that he talks about this. And Sadhguru talks about this too, that the book's inside of you. But he talks about, he stresses that the spiritual knowledge and wisdom are more important than conventional book learning or academic knowledge.
Yeah. So everything you need to advance in this world, in this existence which you live in, is already given to you. Could you imagine if it was a requirement to read books to become more evolved?
Well, then majority of the, in the past would not. Yeah. Before, Gutenberg, we'd be fucked.
But that's what people did. They hoarded knowledge. Because people told them the only way you can learn is to look to these outside sources. I've told you this. I remember one of the very first podcasts we talked about, before I had even reviewed things of like the Meier material. I was like, it's that book. It's that internal one. That has to be viewed, but you're given all of these elements.
Well, it'd be silly for Creator not to give you
everything involved.
It'd be cruel then.
It'd be a losing battle.
It would be a fucked up matrix.
Exactly. So the point which Mr. Meier makes is that the elements of your existence do not need to be found externally. They will be found internally. And everything you need to do to find success, security, confidence, will, love, concordia, natures, wisdom, all of those things will all be found internally. You don't need to read books to become wise. You can find wise people that have never, ever read in their entire lives, but engage so wonderfully with nature and you and themselves. You can see it, you can feel it. But school nature is not, that's not required for
I also think it's like some people have this gift. I'm going to use it in a very basic way, but people understand this. He talks about it all the time. Gary Vaynerchuk. He's a marketing guy.
Yeah.
Super brilliant, everything. He's like, I've never read a book. I've wrote books, but I've never read a book. I just never read a book. But what he's doing is he's going on social media sites and seeing what's going on, and he's gaining wisdom. If you want to, or knowledge, we call it knowledge. He's gaining knowledge about what's really going on.
Right. And then
instead of reading marketing books.
But he knows when to apply it with marketing, right?
Yes.
That's what makes him wise in marketing.
Yes. 100%. That's what I want people to understand.
Knowledge becomes accumulated. And then from that, it's the application of what you've learned.
It's like you can read the Bible all day long and be a Bible scholar and have all this knowledge. But at the end of the day, if you can't discern where the wisdom is in the books, the 66 books of the Bible, and know like, well, that's bullshit. There's slavery right there.
Exactly.
This is bullshit. They're going against women's free will. This is bullshit. Why would Apostle Paul say this?
Think about wise people. Victor Schauberger.
Yes.
He wasn't a fantastic schoolboy.
No.
He vehemently hated the schooling system.
Yes.
Everything he learned was his interaction with nature. He didn't open up.
The forest was his. He even said that.
That was his teacher.
That's so awesome.
You don't have to open the book.
Which goes to number 4.
All right.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Number 4. Do you like how I made these practical? Meier needs to have a conversation with me how I continue teaching and make them practical. Number 4, align with natural laws. Meier teaches the importance of understanding and living in harmony with the laws of nature and the universe.
So remember I said Schauberger was out in the woods? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
If you can recognize around you, and it's there, it's obvious, it has to. Like this table being here, you and I existing, conversing, doing these things. Every law is right here in front of us.
Well, people get this when they go places. Like you were at Cabo here recently. When you first stepped out on that beach, what did you feel? And your feet were in that sand, and you look out. What do you see and feel?
Power.
Yeah.
You can't swim in those beaches.
But it's beautiful though, isn't it?
Oh no, it's quite beautiful.
Did you feel a sense of awe or inspiration, or did you feel a oneness with it?
Peace.
Yeah. You like mountains better than beaches, huh?
Yeah.
See, I'm opposite. I like the beach. Like does it for me. Like it's the most beautiful woman in the world. Like a beautiful beach is like it. That's like the thing.
No,
that's top.
Because on the beach, you get sand and you get water.
Yeah, but the palm trees and
palm trees are great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
fucking cold on a mountain.
I'm not discounting. I just love mountains.
I know.
You know,
but what do you get when you were in Switzerland and you see this beautiful mountain? It's like, what the fuck?
Like the Matterhorn.
Yeah, I literally say what the fuck when I see stuff that's amazing.
So I remember when I saw the Matterhorn, and I was like, there is legit majesty in this thing.
100%. It's spiritual.
Yeah. When I went to Yosemite.
How old is it?
So when I went to Yosemite.
Oh, Yosemite does it for me too.
That for me was one of those things of majesty.
The whole place is majestic.
But you have to recognize that it has carved itself in perfect prime existence, untouched by man, under beautiful laws of nature. They're there acting in perfect harmony. Recognize it.
Making this beautiful.
Don't disrupt it.
Like
You've had so much incredible beauty that just happens naturally, but you choose to disrupt it. But if you can recognize it, you can see those laws of nature, laws of creation itself, and how they apply everywhere. You can't live outside of them.
No, you can't.
Recognize them, see them, use them to your benefit.
And I think we need more of that. Number 5, balanced thoughts and emotions. We just did a whole podcast on this, so read the one before. But Meier advises against indulging in conceit. He uses these 2 words that I thought was interesting, conceit or arrogance. I like the choice of those 2 words. Well, that's what it converted over to English.
Well, yeah.
So hopefully, but I do like the words conceit or arrogance because that's
know-it-alls.
Well, yeah, it's know-it-alls, but like there's a purpose behind either one of them.
What do you mean?
Like conceit. Like I'm purposely taking care of myself in a narcissistic way to make you feel less than.
Yeah.
When I'm arrogant, I'm purposely saying I know more than you.
I don't know it alls.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's a narcissistic thing. It's like,
of course it is.
It's like I have to go against your free will and put you down. I have to push you down, which is you're really tall. So
it's a recognition.
I have to push you down.
It's a recognition of when people start to apply hierarchies
in
an existence where nothing is designed for hierarchy. It's actually designed for coexistence. There's your point right there. Look to those things and then avoid like going deep into these points of arrogance or conceit or acting like a know-it-all. Because when you do that, you're further pulling yourself away from nature and knowingness. You're further trying to...
Well, you're trusting in yourself, not in...
You're not trusting in the
laws.
Yeah, there are the laws around you.
So, and it disrupts inner equilibrium. Number 6, engage in self-reflection and shadow work, which I thought was interesting that Meier got into that. Meier encourages individuals to forgive themselves and work on their personal issues or baggage.
Yeah, we've said this before. You can't know good without knowing what bad is, right? Mm-hmm. So in order for you to pull yourself up from your bootstraps and essentially forge your own path going forward, you have to deal with the shit that you've built up.
Well, what's going to fuck me up?
All that negative stuff, right? And so that's
all that junk in my trunk,
right? All those deep grooves of ill negative thoughts in your brain. You're going to have to unpack that baggage.
I got to get.
And you can't ignore it.
Booty pictures out of my head.
Yeah, you can't ignore it.
I can't ignore it.
Yeah.
Okay, number 7. We've got just a few more. Think independently.
Don't tell me how to think.
One of Meier's key principles, that's a good one, is don't believe, think for yourself. And this encourages 2 things that I love. that I really nailed down with this was the critical thinking aspect and the personal responsibility.
There you go.
So when you look at those two things, that's a fucking heavy duty shit.
It is heavy duty and personal,
big jumper cables.
Personal responsibility. I'm going to take the responsibility to go find out the truth.
But you take personal responsibility to do critical thinking in the moment and not fucking say shit. You know what I mean? Like it's like
pause.
Yeah.
Be patient.
Which I have an affirmation for that. It's like, keep your fucking mouth shut, Jason. I say that to my head when I want to yell at somebody.
Yeah, pause.
Well, besides you, I have a great, where's my phone?
What?
We're going to do this on air. This is funny.
Go for it.
I sent this to Leah about you today.
Can we also tell LaCroix that the pamplemousse is just like the worst flavor?
It's a dog shit.
Yeah.
This is going to be funny. Look, I said, this is how I am.
Just chilling. All right.
But it was funny. I was like, because it was just like so out there, like,
yeah.
And then she was like laughing around.
You have to stop for a moment.
Well, you do. You have to stop and think. Sometimes in the moment, things are heated. I get it. There's like, but at the same time too, there's also truth that has to be spoken. So, and I feel comfortable speaking truth to you, and the same with me, because I think when you have a relationship with somebody, whether it's friendship or relationship, either however that works, one of the things that the shadows come out, you can't hide those. People try to hide all that baggage, and you can't. Like, I know Leah's, Amanda's, like we know all their baggage. I mean, if you're in a spiritual relationship with somebody and that's the main theme,
we know everything that's going on.
Then you know everything. They know
because you've taken the time to go and know.
And we've talked about it, and we're willing to have humility and be open and share those things.
No judgment.
Yeah, with no judgment. Yeah. So when you know that about a person, and you know both sides of them, which everybody has, the shadow and the ego, all that, the negative and the positive, if you want to look at it that way, then it's really cool when you can bounce that off somebody and they can be the equilibrium. You know what I mean? So it's like, here's some negative. What do you think about that? And then like yesterday you were frustrated with me, which was really cool, because then we were both frustrated together about something that we're going to create and move forward.
Because we have to figure it out.
To something super positive.
Exactly.
But that's how it works. It always works that way.
Identification of the thing. Come together, equalize, push it forward.
But it leads to more clarity. That's what I was telling you yesterday. I was like, even though the conversation seemed heavy duty, for me, maybe not for you, but for me, it always leads me to do this. And then after the conversation, it always propels me to do something I thought I couldn't do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I get better. And that's what a great friendship is.
Yeah. And you're not talking to me for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel bad because I have a roughness. Like Leah says that, she goes, "Who are you mad at?" Not with you, but, and I wasn't mad at anybody. She's like, "You sound like you're really like, people don't want to come up to you and talk to you because you look like you're fucking going to rip their head off."
Big teddy bear.
Yeah. And I'm not either of those things. Okay. Enough about number 7, think independently. This is one of his. Don't believe, think for yourself. We talked about that. Number 8, recognize the interconnectedness of all things. If everything's interconnected, if it's all one.
Same thing we're all talked about.
Where's the separateness?
There isn't.
That would fuck me up.
It's impossible.
Because then nothing's ever done to you bad.
No,
it's just your perception of it.
This is one thing. Here's a phone. Here's a shitty pamplemousse.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Okay, so they're both here, right? They're in an environment together.
That's hair mousse.
Yeah, they're in one environment.
Right.
Now, there are two things. This is one. This is one. When I bring them together, what are they?
A shit phone.
They're still one thing.
Yeah, disgusting.
Do you see that?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
And then what happens when I take them apart?
They're still one.
It's still one thing.
It's that space doesn't mean anything.
No, and guess what? This crappy can of water that I'll probably forget about by the time of my death and never drink this in my next incarnation, it can't live outside of creation. So I'm stuck interacting with this thing because it's all interconnected.
Now, we like LaCroix waters.
Oh, yeah, LaCroix waters.
The limes and all that. But this flavor is what we're talking about.
This is trash. I don't even know why you guys let this off the line.
Yeah, we need to have a conversation. I wonder how many people actually put in the comments if you love that kind.
If you have pamplemousse, unsubscribe.
Yeah, unsubscribe. Number 9, increase spiritual density.
Yes.
Meier suggests working on raising one spiritual vibration or conscious level. In Raw, we call it density, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's you and I had talked about this before.
The increase.
You know that gravity, spiritual gravity? That's what you need to do.
Yeah, we talked about this 3 episodes ago.
Yeah, you're becoming more dense.
You talked about with the soul.
Yeah, you're becoming more. You're more.
Mhm.
There's a density of energy that is occurring when this creation energy becomes enlivened inside of you.
Well, I think as the vibration goes up, so does the density. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a physics,
So if
spiritual physics.
Low vibration,
Mhm.
long big wave is red.
Mm-hmm.
When things get really tight, I start to bind things together.
Mhm.
Elements, cool.
That's cool.
Metals, like that shit is like really dense.
And then the last one is practice personal responsibility, and he's big on this one. Individuals can work towards achieving greater balance in their lives, both spiritually and physically, if they don't play the victim.
Yeah, you can't.
There's no learning to be done when you're a victim.
No, you
absolutely not.
You inhibit your learning. Yeah, it's so funny. These things you've amassed together. I mean, they're all straightforward, like reasonable things.
Yeah, self-reflection, self-knowledge. That's the feed.
Did anything say do this or else?
No.
And I think some of the people that look at the Figu organization and this man treat him as like this supreme cult leader.
So here's my view of this.
Yeah.
Take the way the alien stuff. Take it all away.
Strip it.
And read his teachings.
Mm-hmm.
They're very, very good.
I know.
And super wise.
They're so wise.
So don't get caught up in the alien stuff.
That's all.
That's for him anyways.
Yeah. People want to bash all that.
It's like whether that happened or not doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
You know what I would champion.
I would be hard pressed though to see somebody that would fabricate all that and then turn around and be able to write like that, because he has tons of shit that hasn't even been published.
No, tons.
So how could you write like that and then the whole thing just be this big fucking?
You can't. You would see over since the '50s to now.
Yeah,
you would see a crack.
Something.
You would see some sort of break, some sort of hypocrisy. Dude, I have read so much. I have never seen one contradictory statement. Ever. I have not seen one thing that actually doesn't perfectly integrate with another sentence. It's fucking mind-boggling.
That's kind of Raw's kind of the same way.
Raw's the same way. It is a level of intelligence and wisdom that is just perfect.